Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Breiler.
I was going to start by saying go blue.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. I mean, every time that guy says that famous line right there, I feel like we just launch into what we do, man. I just feel like that really, really sets the tone and gets us going.
What up, T-Mac?
It's funny, dude. We talked about that before. Like, does that guy know what he's become for our show anyway?
No, he has no idea. And I wish there was a way we could reach out to him and have him on and get an up. Well, I want an updated soundbite is what I want. I want to hear it live. I want to hear. I just want to say go blue or start off by saying go blue or however it goes. I want to hear it live. I want to do it live.
That's fair.
And may I just say for the people, the folks over at Facebook that are joining us tonight, I don't know what happened down in the state of Ohio, but the inbreds are out in full force tonight from the Buckeye State on the Facebook page. It is incredible over there. So God bless you all that are hanging out in the comment section and on some of those posts. But I don't know, did they just turn internet on down in the trailer park? I'm not sure what happened, but you should see some of the specimens that are showing up on the Facebook page tonight to talk some trash. So shout out to all the Facebook people that are here that are holding it down. Put those guys on blast. Make sure that they make them feel comfortable and cozy on the Winged Helmet platform.
Well, I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, dude,
I'm telling you, it looks like if Deliverance meets Wrong Turn meets like
Hills Have Eyes
condition, the Hills Have Eyes. Dude, it's all it is a like I want to argue with these people, and then I click on their profile, and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at here? Like these, some of these guys have like crazy mullet going on with questionable eyeglass choices, and it's like it's a weird group of folks that are showing up.
They look like the germ.
They look like the germ. They are germs.
Oh, they are germs themselves.
I wish they would show up here. I wish they would show up to the lives. It would be much more fun to make fun of them on one of these.
A couple things in here. Some house cleaning. Where did that go? Matt Ellis. The YouTube channel is Wolverine Digest. That's the name of the website. That's been around since before Chris and I even linked up. That was started a while back. So yeah, Wolverine Digest is the name of the YouTube page. Mike Fort. I believe Facebook is working just fine. I think the issue yesterday was that we had the music at the beginning, and I know that like Facebook sometimes will shut that down after the fact. I didn't know it would cancel live. I didn't realize that.
And yes, Justin Tigner, I hope I said that right. Yes, except for the Michigan fans down in Ohio. You guys are obviously good, but that state pumps out some real specimens down there. I mean, those folks should be collected and put in a petri dish and studied and maybe
it's probably where
I don't know what. Maybe that's the origin.
Send them home.
Go back to the petri dish, damn it. What are you doing out of your petri dish?
Well, we got fan-led Wednesdays. I mean, this is one of those days where Monday and Tuesday was a bear for me and Chris. I mean, a roller coaster of emotions. Chris had a very nice phone call with the good people of wherever the hell today, and I don't know how much he wants to get into that. There we go.
Hey, Detroit Lions fan, RIP maybe to your fandom. Sorry about your team there, but we do appreciate the $5. Absolutely.
And absolutely drop by. Please do. Please come find us.
Listen, I'm telling you, the spot we've been hearing that people are coming. We've got friends coming in from out of town. People are flying in from out of town. Maybe a few potential sponsors are going to swing by. Members of the Army National Guard are going to be there. I talked to Wolverine State Brewing Company today. Not only are we going to have free beer on site, but we're going to have some free grub on site as well. Wow. We're going to have maybe some pulled pork sliders. We're going to get your bellies full. And if you plan on hanging out for the duration of the game, we're also going to have people manning the RV. I haven't posted it yet, but I'll save it. I'm going to put it up in a post. I got a picture of some of the merchandise that came through today. I think you guys are going to be excited about it. That's also going to be available at the RV. But again, limited quantities. So get there early if you want to get your hands on some of that merchandise for sure.
So not like Russell Wilson, not Mr. Unlimited. It's limited. It's a limited supply. So get out there, get your hands on some. Yeah, that's great, man. I know people have been asking about it, so that's awesome. All right, so we'll continue to go back and forth. I mean, if you guys ask about the RV or the location, or we'll jump into that. But first question out of the gate, I think, is a good one. It's one that Chris and I have talked about a little bit leading up to this big matchup, and it's Donovan Edwards, who has been, I mean, dude, kind of a no-show this year. I mean, a little bit. He had the touchdown catch against, was that Maryland? He had a touchdown.
He have one against Indiana too?
It was Indiana. It was Indiana on the road. JJ rolling out right, hit him in the back.
He's had a couple of those so far this year.
So, I mean, like, he's not, and he was hurt. You know, he missed a couple games where if they really, truly needed him, he probably could have went, but he missed a couple games. And so the question is, Chris, from Colin Barron, are you concerned with Donovan Edwards' lack of production in the run game with Blake Corum carrying the ball so much? I'll let you tackle the specifics of that question first.
I don't know that I'm concerned at this point, but I am a bit puzzled. And leading up to the season, I mean, the sort of the calling card for those two. I think Blake might have even said it in one of his press conferences was lightning and lightning, and it was just supposed to be this dynamic backfield of two, quite frankly, highly skilled running backs as a duo that might be the best in the country. And, I don't know if it was the injury that kind of threw things off for Donovan or what the issue is, but yeah, I mean, he's obviously still, a big threat in the passing game, but from a running standpoint, from a rushing standpoint, I am surprised that we haven't seen more productivity out of him. It just seems like it's not really coming together for whatever reason. So am I concerned about it? Not yet. I mean, Michigan's 6-0, and I think that he's going to have plenty of opportunities to get the ball in his hands. And it's to me with Donovan Edwards, it's more of an inevitability that eventually he is going to pop off and he's going to put it all together. But yeah, I'm quite surprised that we haven't seen. I mean, we're heading into, is this week 6 or week 7? This will be week 7, right? We're heading into week 7, and we haven't really seen much from Donovan Edwards yet in terms of just on the rushing side of things.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess one part of your question, Colin, it actually has nothing to do with Blake Corum, because we saw last year that Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins can both have very productive years, whether it's getting in the end zone or the 100-yard games or the explosive plays for Blake. Like, throughout the course of the year, they coexisted very well. And when Blake was a little dinged up, Hassan stepped up. Now this year we've seen Donovan Edwards go down. Blake has stepped way up, 29, 30, and 25 carries, I think, over the last 3 games. Yeah. So to me, it's not so much about like Blake Corum's getting a lot of carries. I figure you just got to find a way to mix Donovan Edwards in as well. Like, I guess I'll put it this way. If Donovan Edwards getting a little more production means taking it away from Blake Corum, I don't really want that either. I mean, I think there's a way that they can both coexist and they can both bring something to the table. They're different enough that you can use them differently. We actually talked to Coach Sharon Moore today, obviously co-offensive coordinator, and he mentioned the idea of having them both on the field at the same time. And I think that's a phenomenal idea. I mean, it just gives so much more for the defense to worry about. So I think I'm not concerned because, again, like Chris said, a little bit, maybe the injury, knocking some rust off. Maybe he wasn't quite at 100% leading in. Then he missed a couple games. Maybe he's still getting back. I don't know. But, I mean, we saw what he could do. I mean, it's not like it's going to go away. Right. I mean, opportunity, the right setup, the right scheme, the right calls, the right opponent. I'm not worried about him at all, but I'm with you. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see 7 doing a little bit more because he just really hasn't yet. So we'll see how that goes against.
We got Penn Chris State. Fields coming through once again.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Big donor guy. I mean, couldn't appreciate you more. The question is, and the thing is, I keep forgetting about this on the Facebook page that they can't necessarily see, or sometimes they don't know what we're talking about over there. I don't know what they can see over on their side. But the question is there an alternative to buy merchandise other than physically traveling to Ann Arbor? That the answer to that question is yes, and that is something that is still in the works. So the e-commerce site, that's what we're working on now. To where, look, I tried to do this on my own, where I offered up merchandise, but I was literally like, I was buying the merchandise and then taking it somewhere to have it printed and then packaging everything up, sending everything out, having to provide tracking orders for, hundreds of different orders. And there's a lot of other stuff that I need to focus on. And so it was a bit of a sloppy process. And so what we want is the next time we unleash this, online, for it to just be a real simple process where you guys go on, you order, you put in your card information, and then everything sort of takes care of itself. So that's a long answer to say, yes, there is an alternative, but it's not quite ready yet, but it is in the works. And I think this weekend is going to be, just a small taste of some of the stuff that we're going to be able to offer.
And a little bit of a measuring stick. I mean, Chris has been getting hit up a lot, but this weekend is going to tell us, like, all right, overdrive. Let's move this into the next phase. So we'll see how that goes. I wanted to point this out too, because I didn't see this earlier. Noah Caldwell, new to the stream, new to the live.
Nice. Noah, welcome to the show. We appreciate newcomers for sure, man.
And we got a fly, of course. I've got a fly buzzing around in here. This isn't the first time this has happened. Got him. Nailed him off my water bottle.
Oh, goodness.
Dude. Gone.
And I hope, listen, he showed up late in the show last night. If our boy Josh out there, if our mechanic is out there, I saw him in the comments last night. I saw he's been, he's kind of been active on the Facebook page, recently over the last 24 hours. Josh is the mechanic who was just going in on the RV, and he's the reason why we're going to be in Ann Arbor. So, yeah, man, Josh, if you're out there, feel free to chime in. We want to give you your flowers, no doubt about it.
Big time flowers. Little cabbage to help with Rosie from DJ GMO2. That's a new name right there. So appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Yes, very much appreciated.
Appreciate that. There was a good question I was looking at right here. I wanted to grab it. Where did it go? I think this is a great question from Captain Banana Peel, one of the OGs of the YouTube page. Oh, I mean, he's in here before we are a lot of times. Right? He's commenting. He's ready to roll.
Yes, sir.
I think this is a really good question because Manny Diaz has shown to be exactly that, aggressive, lots of blitzes, sending the house. So how are we feeling scheme-wise about the offense and the game plan against an aggressive Manny Diaz defense? Well, I'll tell you this. Matt Weiss, super smart dude. If there's a pattern, if there's a tendency, if there's any trends, that dude's going to find them, and they're going to exploit them. Michigan's never been like a big screen to the running backs team, especially under Jim Harbaugh, but I think that's the kind of thing you can do with a guy like Donovan Edwards. Blake Corum, really good at catching the ball out of the backfield too. They just don't do it with them that much. But then something I'm going to be looking very closely at this week, Chris, because I talked about it last week. From the second quarter on against Indiana, Michigan had a tight end on the field for every single play. And having a tight end or two or three in some cases on the field can help you neutralize stuff like this, these extra blitzers, these extra bodies. You've got a former offensive lineman in Joel Honigford who's been getting good snaps. Luke Schoonmaker has really come into his own as a blocker. And then you've got a couple young guys playing too. So there's some opportunity in there to protect the quarterback. And JJ has been extremely good against the blitz this year. The dude is accurate. So I think Manny Diaz is going to have to look at that a little bit and say, this is what I normally do. But if I do this against this Michigan team with these speedy guys in space and a playmaker like JJ McCarthy who can get outside and make some plays, that might not be my best bet. So I'm very curious to see how all of that plays out.
Yeah, I am. And I know a lot of people over the course of the last few weeks, especially, the first half against Iowa, the first half against Indiana. It's like, where is the creativity? Where is, why aren't they using their weapons? Why aren't they fully utilizing all of the talent that they have? And now you've run out of opportunity. This now is the weekend where you're going to need all of that stuff. And so I'm with you, Brandon. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they game plan for that. Do they have multiple tight ends out on the field? Or are they spreading it out wide and trying to hit those, get those quick hitters and maybe get the passing game up and running? I'm not sure what to expect out of this offense, but I do know that it's time now that you have run out of time to sort of get things up and running. You've got a 5-0 team coming into Ann Arbor that believes wholeheartedly that they're going to win that game. And I think they're going to give Michigan, the biggest fight they've had all year. And it's going to be really interesting to see what this offense looks like. And I think, I did an interview earlier today with a gentleman by the name of Luke. He was doing it for one of his high school projects. And he asked me about that, asked me about the offense. And we talked a little bit about, sort of the first half woes. And Michigan cannot afford that this weekend. I don't think they can afford to go out there and put 10 points up on the board in the first half. I think they need to come out swinging. I think they need to set the pace and they need to put Penn State on their heels. And if they do that, I think it's going to be a good afternoon for Michigan. But if this thing is close at halftime and the Michigan offense is sputtering, I question how many times can you flip that second half switch and go into the half with a tie game and come out up 21 or 30 points. Hey, my goodness, the donations are coming in.
They're just rolling in, dude. They're just rolling in. All right.
Rolling.
So Shane Johnson, going to see Rosie and Brandon after the W. See you on the field, Chris. Cold beer spots to go Friday. To suck in. To suck in the the atmosphere.
Well, I'll be at the RV too, Shane. I'm not. I'm there as well.
Wolverine State Brewing Company, duh. Get your ass over there after the game, before the game, during the game if you don't have a ticket. Please, Wolverine State Brewing Company on Stadium, down around the corner a little bit. It's not fun. Yeah. Dude, we can't even keep up. So many donations coming through. But no, obviously Wolverine State Brewing Company, big supporter of ours, one of our sponsors. So I would recommend going there. And Chris and I have said this all along. As soon as we got into the sponsorship game, we said, we're only going to put something on the side of the RV and talk about something that we believe in. I worked with Nate and everybody at Wolverine State Brewing Company when I was on Michael Spath's radio show. Got to know him really well. You cannot beat the food and the beer selection in that place. That is a fact. You will not be disappointed if you go there. So check them out.
And I would say that one of the benefits to it being maybe like a mile and a half away from the stadium up the road a little bit is that it's a location where if you want to drive there and go grab yourself a drink and get some food, I mean, it's not going to be a complicated place to get in and out of, as opposed to going downtown Ann Arbor and trying to find a place to park and do all of that stuff. So it's a really easy in type spot. Good vibe in there. And yeah, I mean, the beer, the food, there's nothing not to like about Wolverine State Brewing Company, which is why we partnered with them.
No question. But, and I'm not gonna direct business away from Wolverine State Brewing Company, but anywhere, dude, you go downtown for a game like this, the atmosphere in Ann Arbor is it's going to suck you in. I'll tell you that. That's a better way to put it. So there's going to be lots of bodies walking around there. And as far as my biggest concern, and I guess he doesn't care about what you think, Chris, just
I'll just mute me, Brandon.
All right, we'll see you later. Chris is out of here. No, I'm kidding. For me, it probably comes back to the crafty old Sean Clifford. I just feel like he's the kind of quarterback that can keep his team in it, make a couple timely plays. Like I think Chris said specifically, you get him to like 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. You think you got him. He moves the chains. The crowd simmers back down. He takes the air out of your sails a little bit. And I mean, it's just the talent level. They can go across the board with Michigan in talent in a lot of areas. And nobody else that Michigan has played yet can say that. So I think just in general, it's the talent level. And then, dude, anytime you've got a very, very experienced veteran quarterback, that's a little bit freaky. That's what I would say. And Chris he's not going to answer because he doesn't care. Shane, I'm sorry, dude.
I concur.
I concur.
Hey, he paid money for it. I want to give him what he paid for.
All right. I'm betting, this is from Quinn. Again, thank you for the donation. I'm betting we see new plays out of familiar formations. What do we think the chances are that play action passes come this week to break the tendencies out? Well, they've been doing play action. I mean, I've talked about it before. JJ's been under center more than I'd have to go back and look, but I don't remember Cade McNamara being under center very often last year at all. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like every time JJ goes up there and gets under Olu, it looks kind of weird. It's like, dude, there's a quarterback under center. Like, you just don't see it that much anymore.
Yeah.
So they've been doing that. Sharon Moore talked about play action today. It's about JJ hitting those deep throws. He keeps talking about his shoulder kind of coming back into full strength. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's some of the timing that they didn't work on earlier this year, like we were, pounding the table for. I don't know. Michigan is going to run the ball, so play action should work. I mean, I would assume we will see that like we have in the past.
I would hope we would see it. And based on the numbers that Pro Football Focus put out recently, I'm not sure if you saw this, Brandon, but JJ off play action this season. These are his numbers off of play action specifically this season. He's 22 of 25 for 395 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a perfect 158.3 passer rating. And that's off of play action. So he's effective when they do that. It's just a question of, how much are they going to do that? And like we've said before, I think now it's not, you're no longer in a situation where it's like, man, it'd be nice to see that. I think some of those plays are going to come out of necessity, and they're going to have to connect on those deep balls. I mean, again, you can't afford to take 14 to potentially 21 points off of the board when you've got a legitimate opponent on the other side who can score and who can give you fits. And so they're going to have to connect on those things. But yeah, I think we're going to see more of that this weekend. And I think it's because Michigan's going to have to.
Yeah. I mean, they've been doing it, and JJ's been good at it. So why not do it more? Skrionk again, man. Thank you. No question.
Just another,
Just
either
the coin. Just
Mr. or Mrs. Skrionk, not sure, but
that's
always
true.
always consistent, always in here supporting the boys, and we certainly appreciate it.
I want to throw this out because this is a new Lothrop shout out, and he knows the deal. I mean, Dave Ware's big, good little brother of one of my best friends growing up, and Dave and I have gotten close over the years too, and he knows what the tips are about, dude. He saw them in their prime back in the day. Back in the day, I used to roll over the Ware's household, tipped up, dude, and now they're back. So
tipped up, dripped up, just dripping like. Still dripping like what is it that it is? It's bleach, right? Basically bleach.
I mean, I stepped it up a little bit. It's dye. I mean, I'm not just throwing bleach in there and hoping it works out. But yeah, really, really coming together.
Bleach, bro.
Here we go. From Grant Freeble or Freibel. Try the last name there. Do we think JJ has the potential to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten?
Yeah,
I do too. He's not right now. I'd still give that crown to CJ Stroud. I mean, you look at what he's doing, the numbers, the weapons he's got to work with, a little more experience. But, dude, JJ's plenty talented enough to do all of those same types of things. But it's also about opportunity and what they're asking him to do and what kind of things he gets to do in that offense. But there's no question. He's an NFL guy. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, extremely talented. It's just, again, will the offense allow him to be that? We know that he could be that. And if you were to plug him into an offense that was pass heavy and showcase the quarterback and let those guys do what they do, I think that the numbers would be considerably different than what they are now. But, I don't know that Michigan's offense is ever going to lend itself to a quarterback even being in the type of like Heisman conversation, unless there's like a significant change. I mean, you have to put up numbers. There has to be production there. And this offense is just, it is what it is. And we've talked about this before. We were of the belief that, it was Cade McNamara that was limiting the explosiveness of the offense. And it turns out after watching a few weeks or 4 weeks of JJ McCarthy that I don't think it was Cade McNamara. Now, granted, Cade McNamara is not JJ McCarthy, and JJ McCarthy has, more athleticism. He brings more to the table. But at the end of the day, the offense kind of looks pretty similar to what it looked like with Cade behind center. They're not really doing much different. And I thought, we talked about it. I think it was on the way back from Indiana. Have we seen a single 5-wide set with all the weapons that they have this year? Have we seen a 5-wide set out of Michigan? Have we seen them try
5-wide?
True 5-wide, spread it out, and you haven't seen that. And I'm curious. You don't have to do that every play, but I am curious why they haven't tested that or tried that. I know you're going to get a bunch of people that say, well, just wait and see, and they don't want to put that on film and yada, yada, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, the talent is there for JJ McCarthy to be the best quarterback in the league. I just don't think the offense is conducive for that.
Yeah, 5-wide, man, or even like a 4-wide. Like you got your two, your twins out both sides.
All right, let me ask you: if you're going 5-wide, who's your 5-wide outs?
I mean, it's pretty clear. I think the top 5 across the board. You've got Cornelius, you've got Ronnie, you've got Roman Wilson, you've got Andrell, and you've got AJ Henning. I mean, like, dude, that is a formidable, dangerous, group of guys with. I mean, you've got some size, you've got plenty of speed, you've got some short space quickness guys with AJ Henning and Roman Wilson. Like I said, you take
maybe you put Donovan Edwards in the backfield and you run him. The options are endless.
That's what I'm saying. You take one of those 4 wide receivers out. Yeah. You put Donovan in the backfield, then you split him out wide. You put him in motion. Now you've got essentially 5 wides, but they accounted for 4 with there's just a lot of opportunities for that. And again, for 3 quarters, there was a tight end on the field for every single play. I don't hate tight ends, but the mix it up. You don't have to go 5 wide every play. It's not Texas Tech. It's not throwing the ball 70 times. But when you've got that many weapons, man, it just seems like you could do a lot of stuff with them. And I don't know. We haven't seen that. So anyway.
What in the hell is this? Wait, hold on a second, Brandon. We got to get this out of here. Tinder hot, best adult dating.
Oh, we're getting some more of that
here. Although if you are out there looking for love, maybe there's a link for you.
Oh, baby, I'm
looking for love. Oh, wait, ready for love. That's what it is.
I adapted it for the situation. It was a very quick and easy set. Yeah, John Patrick, another OG from the group. She's good. She's
good.
ready to roll.
She's beautiful.
A little bit of cleanup, little. We're gonna get her out there Friday night.
Yeah.
Good to go. Rosie is good to go. If you missed the show last night, it was a deep one. We got into it. We talked about exactly what happened over the last, give or take a day or 2 weeks with Rosie, with the mechanics, with the towing, with the parts, with the problems.
Listen, and I don't think we should get. I know it's fan-led Wednesday, but I don't think we should get out of this show without doing our TFG segment because I've got some things to get off my chest.
We can launch one of those. I already know who that's going to be. Heard about that phone call today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into that. We definitely have some time to get into that. We can do a little split. We'll play our commercial, run some run some sponsorship stuff. We'll come back to TFG and we'll close.
I love it, Rob. The winged helmet where you may find love if you're looking for love.
You never know.
Or T-shirts, maybe. You find a lot over here.
Ty Adkins. What are our thoughts on the defense? I'm just not safe with them right now. Haven't showed me too much getting to the opposing quarterback. Well, I think they have like 11 sacks over the last 2 games. So like they kind of been getting home.
Aren't they on a better pace than they were last year in terms of sacks?
I think as a team, I get where he's coming from because there've been some big dips. I mean, like it was 7 and there was like 5 or 6, but then there was also like a 0 and a 2 or a 1. So there has been a little bit of an up and down. Some of that's offensive scheme by the opponent. Some of that is, there were, still figuring some stuff out, I think, with a new DC and a new bunch of new faces and Coach Mike Elston. I mean, there's a little bit of bump in the, some growing pains there, but Penn State's the best team they're going to play so far by quite a bit. Talent, multiple positions at skill players, a very good offensive line. This is going to be a test. There's no doubt about it. This is going to be a test. I think they're going to have to play their asses off, and they're going to have to make some plays. I mean, that's pretty cliche, but this is the best game they're going to play. It's at home. Penn State's going to try to play spoiler, and they're not going to forget about what happened in Happy Valley last year. You've got a very veteran quarterback. I think James Franklin is a dunce cat, but he, whatever. He gets those guys to get up and win some big games, and so this is a big game. It's the biggest one either one has played this year. So
maybe I'm in the minority, but I feel pretty confident about the Michigan defense. I take a look at who they got top to bottom, and I know that the tempo gave them a little bit of trouble against Indiana, and I think anytime Michigan goes up against a tempo offense, there's just a sense of you kind of got to just get your breath together and get your sea legs under you, and you kind of got to get used to that, and you figure it out. And you saw that against Indiana; they got to the quarterback 7 times. So I'm not really concerned about the Michigan defense. The only thing that concerns me, and Brandon and I talked about a little bit earlier in the show, is just the discipline and making sure that they've always got eyes on Sean Clifford. Because if he starts to extend drives, if he turns a 3rd down into a 1st down, which he can do with his legs, I think that's gonna it's gonna put Michigan in a tight spot. So as long as they play disciplined football, talent-wise, man, that is a really good defense, and I like their chances against the Penn State offense. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I mean they're really talented. They're really fast. So they've had a lot of guys step up and make some plays.
Can I answer Thomas Fitting's question really quick, just because I feel like it's on the same plane as what we're talking about? He's asking why does Michigan struggle so much with the tempo offense? And we talked about this a little bit earlier when I did the interview with Luke. Look at the type of offense that the defense plays against in practice and in spring ball. I mean, it's not a tempo offense, so I just think it's the same thing when you play the service academies. They're always gonna, those service academies aren't out to win national championships, but they give teams fits because they do things a little bit differently. And I think it's just a product of Michigan isn't used to it. Most of the teams they play don't run it, and when you get in front of it, it takes a minute to to just get acclimated and get into it. And so yeah, I mean, it's something that certainly is apparent with this team, that anytime they face a high tempo offense, at least initially, they struggle with it a bit.
Defensive line coach Mike Elston talked about that today at the press conference. I mean, that's not something you can recreate in practice. I mean, you can try, and they did. They certainly did. I think they said it was Brandon Mann. Very impressive looking walk-on freshman quarterback for Michigan.
Yes.
Athletic kid, big kid, can kind of do a lot of things. So he's been given some really good scout looks. And so they're trying to recreate the tempo and get guys ready, and 4 defensive linemen in, 4 out, and getting the linebackers in and out. It's just hard. That's hard to do in practice in 3 days, and then you go out and run it against the team that's been doing it all year and multiple years in Indiana, and it's gonna challenge you a little bit, and it did. It gave Michigan some trouble for the first time. I think all year the defense looked a little disheveled at times. Substitutions weren't as smooth. Guys weren't all the way set, ready to go. And that's what tempo is supposed to do. Lesser talented teams can create a little bit of an edge by going up tempo and getting the defense on their heels a little bit. But to Mike Elston's point, you've got offensive linemen for Indiana playing at that pace for 70, 80 snaps a game, where you've got Michigan defensive linemen playing 20, 30, 40 snaps because they're rotating in and out. And you often will see a high-tempo team kind of wear out over the second half. And look at the game, man. 10-10 at halftime. Michigan hangs 21 on them in the second half and shuts them out. So I think there's some truth to all of that. It's hard to practice against. Chris's a comparison of the Army, Navy, Air Force. Like it's hard, dude. You can't create that in practice the way that it's going to be in a game. And it can take some time. And sometimes if it takes 4 quarters, a lesser team bites you in the ass. I mean, you see it every year with those service teams, service academies. They got a knack, man. And the tempo's in a similar vein. I think that's a good point. But Michigan calmed down, figured it out, and they dominated in the second half. It looked like 2 different games.
Yeah.
When you look at first half to second half. Sean Patterson, I think this is an interesting question because we have not seen the freshman running back CJ Stokes since he fumbled. And I think it was Blake Corum. Pretty sure it was Blake Corum was asked about that, what's his mentality like? He hasn't been in there since then. And Blake said he's not in there because of the fumble. And I'm like, well, I think he kind of is. I think that's a pretty big part of it. You don't really need him this year. You've got a 2-headed monster in Corum and Edwards. Mike Hart doesn't play that stuff, man. It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that he does not like putting the ball on the turf. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see him again. It doesn't look like it at this point.
I mean, with a healthy Blake Corum and a healthy Donovan Edwards, I think the likelihood becomes, smaller and smaller. But, if there isn't, unfortunately an injury or something like that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him again. But to Brandon's point, I don't think he's going to be a factor in what they do offensively this year. He's a freshman. He's got time to grow into the position, and they've got 2 highly skilled running backs that, quite frankly, we talked about it earlier in the show. Donovan Edwards still trying to figure it out. Blake Corum is a known commodity. He's probably going to get up over 100 yards again. I mean, that's what he does. But I think they got to get Donovan Edwards going, get him into the rhythm of the game, and get him, some sort of production on the ground, and that will carry them far for the remainder of the season. And so I just don't know that it's necessary to see CJ Stokes. Not a knock against him. I don't know that it has much to do with the fumble, but it certainly didn't help. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's freshmen, struggling in any areas. All right, let's back it down a little bit, get you learned up a little bit more until you're a little more ready. I don't know. We'll see if they need him or if they go to him again. And, who knows, man? I mean, Mike Hart's out this week. Maybe Fred Jackson's like, I don't know. Get in there, 23. We'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I'm 72. Get in there and play some ball. No, I mean, everybody loves Freddie J, and I'm sure he's not going to try to overstep his bounds. But you never know. That's a new guy in there calling the shots in the heat of the game. I mean, I wouldn't think he would do that. Maybe Mike Hart's already planted the seed. Who knows? But based on what's happened since that fumble, it doesn't look like they're real worried about getting him involved. And, we'll see how that develops over the season. Chris, I'll let you run with it. He's been our guy. Big fan of him. The drip, the number 1, the dreads, the tats. You love him.
Swaggy.
Lots of pictures of Andrell every week.
Yeah.
Not a lot of catches. Got a little more involved against Indiana.
Far more pictures and catches, I can tell you that.
Got a little more involved against Indiana. What do you think about this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think, why not continue to go to it? He is extremely talented. He's fast. He's one of the few receivers on this roster that we have seen go up and have the ability to make a play on the ball, albeit he hasn't had many opportunities to do it, but he's got that in him. And so for me personally, I think it is critically important that you continue to get Andrell Anthony involved in the game, because I think as you get down, to the latter part of the season, I mean, hell, even this weekend, that Michigan is going to need a guy like that who can go up and make a play on the ball. We talked about Cornelius Johnson a little bit, and from a physical standpoint and athleticism standpoint, he should be that guy. But Cornelius Johnson isn't the type of dude where you do like a 3-step drop in the red zone, you toss it up to the corner and let him go make a play on the ball. He hasn't done anything like that. Andrel Anthony, on the other hand, has that ability. And so would love to see him get more involved. Does he get more involved? Yeah, I think so. I think it's out of necessity for sure.
All right.
He's a playmaker, and playmakers make plays. You just got to get him the ball.
What week did they play Michigan State last year? Was it like week 10, maybe week 9? They were 8-0, 9-0, something like that.
It was right around Halloween. Yeah, same.
Yeah, so maybe a couple. I don't know. And maybe Andrel has to get to mid-October before he's on leave. Who the hell knows? But yeah, we'll see what that looks like on October.
You had Joel Klatt saying he looks like Braylon Edwards out there snagging the ball out of the air. And I was like, yes, he does. Let's do that more.
Yeah, let's see if that looks like that on Saturday. Ramon Hunt. We've talked about this before. I will say this. Question is, how do we feel about the 2 offensive coordinator play calling system that Michigan has going on? I'll say this. I don't think I can point to a very, very specific example this year where I was like, that sucked and it's because of the 2 coordinators. I don't really think I can say that. I think in general, I've seen some approaches and some different play calling approaches, most notably after halftime, that I've been like, what? Why? Like, Iowa, how do you get 18 first downs in the first half and then 6 in the second half? Like that's not a 2 coordinator problem. That's just an offensive philosophy problem. So I don't think I have as big of an issue with. I will say this. If I was building my own team, if I was a head coach, I'd have 1 guy. That's it. I wouldn't have this run game coordinator, pass game coordinator, 2 coordinators, 1 in the booth, 1 on the field. I wouldn't do that. I'd have 1 guy that I trusted, completely to put together a kick-ass offensive game plan, and that's who I would roll with. So, from the ground up, I don't love it, but I honestly don't think I can think of a reason this year where I've been like, I hate that. Why are they doing that? So I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah, they have their process figured out. Obviously, it's not the norm, the way that they're going about things, but I think they have their process figured out. And to your point, I don't think there's been a situation this year where having 2 offensive coordinators has cost Michigan in any way. I think it's just, they're on the same page with what they want to do. I know the school of thought is that they're holding a lot back because they don't want to put it on film. For me, it's just, I would like to see more creativity out of an offense that has the potential. I truly believe this. If the scheme allowed for it, you would see this offense producing at the same level that you see going in Columbus right now. I mean, they have the talent to do that. They got one of the top offensive lines in the country. They got JJ McCarthy, who's uber talented. You got Blake Corum in the background. You've got about 8 wide receivers who are deadly in different ways. This offense could be scary good. And I just, it goes back to like, it's just philosophy. It's what they are. And I don't think it has anything to do with 2 offensive coordinators, 1 offensive coordinator, 3. I think it would all look the same. So I'm not concerned about that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, so far, like I said, and I don't know if we'd ever really know, like, wow, there was a miscommunication there, or one guy wanted this play and the other one. I don't know how we would ever know that. And we've asked Jim Harbaugh, we've asked Matt Weiss, we asked Sharon Moore today, and it's good, dynamic. I mean, they're not really going to talk about like, yeah, it's been it blows. I wish it was just me. I mean, they're not going to say that, and I don't know if they need to say it at this point. Like I said, I don't think I've seen anything that's glaring like, that was awful. Get it back to 1 guy. I mean, maybe that happens still. I don't know, but so far I haven't felt that way. This is an interesting thought here. Had not really looked at Penn State's schedule like this, or had this thought pop into my head, but is there a chance that Penn State's a little rusty coming into Ann Arbor when you look back at Central Michigan, Northwestern, bye week? Now you've got Michigan. I mean, certainly they should be healthy. They should be rested. Those are 2 good things for them. But, dude, not having played a caliber opponent like this in 4 weeks, that's not ideal.
And that's a phenomenal point to bring up by Account 22. I hadn't looked at their schedule like that. Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, you look at that, Central Michigan, Northwestern, you go to the bye week, and now God damn, these Tinder things keep popping up.
Oh, baby. Fly, dude.
Looking for love. You got flies in your mouth. We got Tinder adult dating sites in the comments. We're going off the rails here. But yeah, so for Penn State to have to travel to Ann Arbor, and come into, a maze out in the big house. You got Michael Phelps in the house. You got, there's all kinds of things that are going on. I think there is something to that. I think that it might take Penn State a bit to get up and running. And by the time they do, they could be down by 14 or 21 points. And so phenomenal point. Yeah. Central Michigan, Northwestern bye week. And then you got to go to Ann Arbor. That's not ideal, especially for a Michigan team that's rolling and as confident as any other team in the country. So yeah, that might be tough sledding for Penn State there.
Dude, I am having to go so far back to the shout out to the people in here putting comments up. I am looking that question right there from account 22, Chris, is from 712. That was 30 minutes ago on the comment.
We're already 40 minutes into the show.
Unbelievable.
I didn't even realize that.
Unbelievable, dude. This is what we're talking about on a Wednesday. So again, keep the questions coming. We will get to as many as we can, but you get an idea of what we're doing. We talk for a couple minutes about each question and 50 more come in. I mean, it's hard to keep up, and I'm trying to I don't like to skip any of them, but if there's some that are even remotely similar to previous ones, I kind of glance over them. If it's not really a question, I kind of just skip past it. If I don't see a question mark, like jump right out at me, I'm not grabbing it because there's too much. But dude, 30 minutes behind right now. That's why when you were like, let's get this one down at the bottom. I'm like, dude, I haven't seen that for a minute. I'm not going to see that forever.
Good problems to have, man.
Good problems to have. Absolutely. Yeah. Bo was a big tight end, a double tight, triple tight. Yeah. And shocker. Dude, listen, Matt Weiss, well, he's got a pretty extensive NFL background, so maybe that's not as much. But I think back to like Josh Gaddis, Sharon Moore, he's about our age. He's not one of these old school 55-plus-year-old dudes that's, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I don't care how many times we ask or how many times we say. I don't think Sharon Moore and Matt Weiss are drawing up plays with 3 tight ends on the field. I'm never going to believe that. You go back to Josh Gaddis a couple years, I don't think we could go down and look at what it looks like at Miami. Do they ever put a fullback on the field? Because Ben Mason sure got a hell of a lot of snaps for a while there. Jim Harbaugh's hands are still all over this offense, and it's never going to change. I don't think there's any way you can deny that.
Yeah, I just, and that's something that you and I think we have to come to terms with, is that, as long as Michigan keeps winning, it doesn't necessarily look the way that we want or hope it would look, but as long as they keep winning, I mean, that's really what matters, is the end result. And I think there's always this fear in the back of my mind that, it's working now, but it will come back to bite them when they get to Columbus, or when they get to the Big Ten championship, or when they get to the college football playoff. And, at some point you got to stop wanting to see something different and just accept it for what it is. And I think you're right. For as long as Jim Harbaugh is in town, this offense is pretty much going to look the way it does until it stops working. But 2021 gave a lot of credibility to the philosophy and that it can work. Now, granted, you had guys like Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo on the other side that certainly helped things. But, they're racking up W's. They are winning a lot of football games. And when that's happening, it's tough to complain, man, even if it doesn't necessarily look the way you would want or hope.
Tyler McVay, when does Eric All come back? Maybe you've been living under a rock, haven't seen it.
Hey, you go easy on Tyler McVay.
No, he said that. He said he might be living under a rock.
Oh, okay. I
was just reading these questions. Tranquilo. Easy, brother.
Hey.
No, I mean, everything we've heard, and, again, the injury thing, a little slippery slope. Nothing's ever super appropriately confirmed. And even if we did get it, I don't know if I would run to the mountaintop and scream it, but we think he's out for the year. I mean, we've kind of been hinted at that he's not coming back, and whether that means he's done at Michigan or not, I don't know, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be back this season, which,
and I saw the comment from Marlon Louie. I saw your comment asking about Roman Wilson. I think that the thought is there that he is going to be back and ready to go this weekend.
Hope so. Yeah, kind of reading between the lines of Jim Harbaugh's answer from Monday. I got that impression. So, Matt Kirby, how do you donate? Confused by technology? Hey, that's okay. The only way you can do that is from YouTube.
From the YouTube page.
Go over to YouTube, subscribe. Use your Gmail account. You can sign up or whatever. Have an account over there. And I don't even know exactly how to do it. You might be able to ask somebody in the comments over there, but I think there's just a simple. You click a button and it comes through, and there it is. You probably obviously have to hook up your bank account and do some other stuff. So, Maybe take a couple days, get it figured out. Get yourself some water, maybe a towel. Get through the technology.
Sit back with the bifocals on and just kind of figure it out. Take an afternoon off.
Yeah. So I've never done it before, actually, myself. Even
on me either. YouTube, I wish I knew how to tell you, but I've never done it.
Big shout out to everybody here that is doing it. We really appreciate it. CJ Frazier comes through with a question. Can I say before we get into the question, my wife, CJ sent a really we had a kind exchange earlier today, and I was talking to my wife about it, and she was like, on the live show tonight, you need to tell CJ that he is my favorite guy, favorite part of the winged helmet community. So CJ, you're definitely earning some stripes with the wife over here. I mean, she appreciates what you bring to the community. We certainly appreciate what you bring to the community. Always consistent. Been here from the beginning, man. I think when the Facebook page first started, CJ's been around for years. So it's really cool. I told him earlier, I was like, it almost feels like kind of a family now. It's not like just running a page with random people. Like some of these names we see all the time. We meet them in person. There you go. You're going to get us cut out again. Turn that shit off. It's going to screw up the Facebook feed. But it is really nice. It is really nice to be able to, to have some consistent interaction and it feels like a family. I enjoy it. We're just playing favorites now. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, whatever, whatever you guys want to do out there. I hope nobody leaves the page now. I mean, no,
nobody's going to leave. They just got to step it up.
CJ sat in for me on a podcast for crying.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, how many fans have done that? How many fans have sat in for one of us on a live podcast? So
there you go. All right. So his question: can the front four, Mike Morris, Yabi Oki, whoever else is in there, the big guys in the middle, Braden McGregor. I mean, you've had some other guys, Jalen Harrell, had a lot of guys get to the quarterback. Can they continue to build on that momentum up front? Get to Clifford. This is what we come back to, man. Clifford's crafty, he's wily, slippery, but they are starting to show a little bit more of that athleticism and that ability, especially Oki. The more snaps he seems to play, he just is back there, dude. I mean, you see why he was a 5-star guy at one point.
Yeah, it's really nice to see that group coming into their own and figuring things out. And I mean, if you look across the board, man, they have so much talent. They've got so much dominance there. It goes back to, will they be disciplined? Will they make sure that they're keeping an eye on Sean Clifford, because he can certainly extend drives but yeah, I think that they're going to continue to build on the momentum. Personally speaking, my gut feeling is it's going to be a long day for Sean Clifford. I think he's going to take some big hits, and I've seen it being down on the field. I mean, you watch what's the court? Zappy, is that the quarterback for Indiana? What the hell is his last name?
Connor Bazelak.
Bazelak, that's who it was.
Bailey Zappi is the rookie quarterback who beat the Lions.
Who just destroyed the Lions. Correct. Yeah. I got my quarterbacks confused. Bazelak. I was watching him get knocked around all afternoon and struggling to get off of the turf. And I kept thinking to myself, like, man, you're watching Mozzie land on him, and you're watching Oki get a hit on him, and you're watching Mike Morris get in there and get a hit on him. And that takes its toll on you as a quarterback. And I think Clifford is going to be in for the same type of afternoon. Those guys are really talented. They're extremely athletic. I think they're going to feast on Saturday.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun to watch. I'm so excited about this matchup, man. Call a spade, man. A lot of them have been duds this year, and I'm excited for this one on Saturday and the event surrounding it. The new spot, the boys coming. The boys. We've talked about it at length. Fletch lives daily. Rosie's got a queen size in the back and a pull out in the middle. And if you really were in a pinch, you could lay the front two seats pretty much all the way. Chris, you've been a little bit more bouncing around to the different sleep areas in there. Yep. Why don't you give everybody your opinion?
Well, I mean, the good news is I've been sleeping in a lot of different areas in the RV because I've had several opportunities to over the last 2 weeks. And I can tell you, there's a bed in the back. There's a couch over there that folds out. The 2 chairs recline back. I was actually trying to sleep in the passenger seat reclined back until some lot lizard pulled in and met up and did some sort of skeezy sort. I don't know what was going on next to us over there. I mean, that was a weird situation, and I just didn't feel comfortable in the passenger side, so I went and slept on the couch on the other side. But point being, plenty of places to sleep in the RV.
An unidentified female pulled in an Escalade. An unidentified male pulled in a blue Dodge truck, and
they sat there for a minute.
They sat there for a long time. I believe one got into the other's vehicle, and then they pulled out of there like nothing ever happened.
Probably doing tax stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they were playing cards. I'm pretty sure they weren't trading recipes. So, I mean, we scoped it out a little bit the next morning just to see what we could see.
Check the pavement for any evidence of what may have occurred.
Any kind of evidence.
I mean, that's what you do when you're stranded on the side of the road. You resort to looking at the pavement for evidence of an encounter that you saw the previous night. I mean, it gets tough out there. You got to get creative. Oh, sorry, that we got to watch the language here. We got CJ's daughter is also in the room.
Oh, she's probably not aware of the term lot lizard, and you can teach her about that later on.
Chris Fields again, Mr. Consistent.
All right, is it a question? I'm way away from it.
It is a question. You want me to read it out, or you want me to wait till you get to it?
I'm getting down there. I'll find her. I want to throw it up. Oh my goodness, we're down there. All right, here it is. Is there a chance that if Michigan blows out Penn State, it will get the Maryland narrative saying it speaks to how bad Penn State is, not how good Michigan is?
There's always going to be people out there that are going to. Here's what I know. We're 6 weeks into the year, and if Michigan gets the W this weekend, it doesn't matter what happens. There is going to be a consistent portion of not just rival fan bases, but people within this fan base who are going to say, doesn't mean shit. They haven't really played anybody. Turns out Penn State isn't that good. I don't think any of it's going to matter until Michigan goes down to Columbus and that game takes place. And so, yeah, you're certainly going to get some of that narrative, but I'm over it, man. I don't pay attention to it. We're halfway through the damn season at this point. If you're still talking about the schedule and not wanting to give this team credit for what they're accomplishing, then I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what, why are you even watching? Like, how are you even enjoying the sport? Like, part of this we can't forget is it's fun. It's a sport. And when your team's doing well, it's okay to give them credit and appreciate it, regardless of what the schedule is. They can only look at Mike Morris didn't make the schedule. Mike Sainrisville didn't make the schedule. JJ McCarthy didn't make the schedule. Those guys are just going out and they're playing the opponents in front of them and they're winning week in and week out. And so it's okay to give those guys some credit.
It's more than some other programs can say, right?
There you go.
There you go. Chris, look, man, you and I are both pretty positive energy guys.
Try to have
a good time. Try to look at the bright side. It was a little tough over the last couple of weeks, a couple times, not going to lie. But I think we would also be doing a disservice and not being true to ourselves and kind of keeping it real like we like to. And also, I don't want to ignore a question from a YouTube OG. So I'm going to throw it up from Fletch Lives Daily again. If Michigan were to lose on Saturday, what's that mean for you? What's that look like big picture? Did that screw up my audio, by the way? I just got a phone call. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good. Your audio is good.
All right. What would that do? I mean, dude, first of all, what we've got going on this weekend, it can't happen. But, on the field, football-wise, polls, rest of the season, I mean, what kind of thoughts do you have?
Well, I think what happens if Michigan loses this game is you have pretty much 95% of the college football world saying, see, Michigan isn't that good. They were a fraud. They didn't play anybody the first few games, and even in the Big Ten slate, they struggled with some of the mediocre teams that they had to face. And I think this entire narrative about Michigan not playing anybody and just wait until they play somebody, if they go out and lose this game, that's all you're going to hear about is how Michigan was fraudulent. And whether or not that's true, T-Mac, again, it means that Michigan is 6-1 and still everything is on the table and they can still, get to Indy. And if you go down to Columbus and you win, you can salvage the season, much like they did last year when they lost to Michigan State. But I mean, this is at home. It's in front of your own crowd. Penn State's coming off of a bye week. And I'm sorry, top to bottom, I just think that Michigan is a more talented team. And so they should handle their business. If they are who we think they are, they should win. But if Michigan loses, it will give credibility to every single person who spent the first 6 weeks saying, yeah, but the schedule. And I don't want to deal with that on social. I am not prepared to deal with that type of blowback. And so Michigan has to win this game, if for nothing else, my own sanity.
Yeah. I mean, it's an undefeated team, top 10 team, talented Big Ten team, trying to look for some revenge from last year. I mean, this isn't losing a complete head scratcher type of game, but I expect Michigan to win, and they're favored by a good amount. I think they're more talented. Got to play a clean game. Can't turn it over. Can't have a bunch of dumb penalties. Can't let drives be extended by Sean Clifford or by a holding penalty or by whatever. But I I think Chris hit it on the head. I think you're immediately going to get, remember that cupcake schedule at the beginning? Remember how bad Maryland was? Remember, that's what you're going to. Iowa, they went to Kinnick, but look at Iowa. They can't even score. They didn't play anybody. That's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get from the haters for sure. And I think even like the more neutral national guys will kind of go that way too, because honestly, like what else would you say? I mean, it kind of fits. I mean, I don't entirely agree, but it kind of fits. And that's what people are going to say. So yeah, we'll just pretend that that's not an option. We'll go into Saturday with
it's so crazy to me. Like even reading that as a question, it's not like it obviously there's a possibility that Michigan can lose this game, but that hasn't even really entered my mind. Like I've been expecting all the time. It's just going to be a win. It's going to be a W. And if it's not, it's going to raise some questions. What is it
from Thomas Fighting or Fitting or whatever we've said? Joel Klatt has an Android.
Hey, Joel Klatt's a solid dude. That's a solid guy right there. Me and Joel Klatt exchanging text via green bubble. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, all it takes is one Android to poison the whole iPhone well. You can have a group chat of 20 people, and if one guy has an Android in there, you're getting green bubbles.
I remember the first time when I had my phone and I had sent somebody a text. I think it might have been Alden who's coming into town. I sent him something, and the response was, loves yada yada yada, and I was like, why is he writing that? And I didn't realize that it's just an emoji on your end, but on my end, it's like a full paragraph of what just took place.
So for those who don't know, if I send Chris a text and then what? I give it like a thumbs up or something, right? Like from my iPhone,
Brandon thumbs up, and then it'll put on the whole message that I sent to him. And at first, I thought Zach was like, why is he quoting me? Like Zach loves, and then in quotations, what I said.
Did I miss a couple?
We just got Detroit Lions fan that just happened recently. I didn't see any other one that we might have missed, but if we did, please let us know.
All right. Detroit Lions fan, all you're saying is that Michigan is 8-0 when you're at the games and you're going to be there, so you're going to win. All right, I'll take it.
I'll take it. I will take that.
I think Penn State's talented. They've got speed, they've got size, they've got a very good offensive line. I talked about that yesterday. They had 4 of their 5 guys up front on the O-line were Michigan targets. And I think a couple of them were like big Michigan targets. Yeah. We've talked about that before. Having an offer from Michigan is not the same as being able to go there. But I think generally speaking, when you're talking about kids that end up at Penn State, they probably had a pretty good chance of coming to Michigan. I mean, that's another big Big Ten school that recruits well in the same kind of footprint, in the same kind of area. And they've got a lot of guys on their roster that had a Michigan offer. Now, whether it was completely committable or not, that's a different discussion for another day. But they've got enough talent to go toe-to-toe with Michigan, and so you always have to be wary of that. And I do think Michigan's a little faster. I do think, God, dude, flies.
Right on the forehead.
Dude, right on my head.
That was an incredible interaction right there.
Big motherfucker, too, dude. He keeps buzzing.
Is that a horsefly?
Dude,
I think he actually kind of gave his finger on his way out. He knows what he's doing.
I'm gonna get a.
Where's the racket? Where's the electrical racket that my wife so kindly sent to you? Where is it?
We already had one, so the one that you bought us is at my parents' house.
Oh, that's right. Okay, it was donated.
Yeah, but the other one is upstairs.
You need an upstairs and a downstairs whacker is what you need.
I don't know if anybody needs a whacker on both levels of their house, but maybe I'll check into that. Dude, if that thing comes flying around my head again, I'm gonna have problems because it was visibly on my forehead.
No, it landed right on the forehead, stayed there for a minute, looked at me, and then took off.
What's up, dude? It took off. Probably rode back in Rosie with us, dude, and just followed me right in, got into my car. God, dude. We're coming up on an hour, Chris. I'm still 20 minutes away from current time looking at these questions. So clearly we're not going to get to all of them, but yeah, I think another just absolute banger of a fan-led Wednesday. Lots of good questions.
Brandon McGraw, we would love to park out on the golf course and hang out with you guys in the RV. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to do that. No RVs on the golf course. They pretty much, if you've got an RV in Ann Arbor, they're sending you to the next county over and making you Uber your way over to the stadium. But we're hoping that, and look, this spot that we have this weekend, the intention is not for this to be a one-off deal. And we've got, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow down in Ann Arbor. And we're going to talk about potentially a long-term partnership. And again, if we can be at that spot every single weekend, I wouldn't trade that spot for where the big noon kickoff crew is going to be. I mean, I really think it is a primo spot, and it's great for the fans that want to come out and want to see us, and also want to hang in a spot that's active where people are walking around and stone's throw to the stadium. So yeah, we would love to come out on the golf course and hang out for a bit, but it's not in the cards.
Not in the cards. All right, I think this is a good question. Sharon Moore talked about it today. And, we've spent some time talking about Mike Hart, the health status, what happened, where he's at now. Got some confirmation from Sharon Moore today that he's been Zoom calling in. So he's back in Ann Arbor. He's been Zoom calling into position meetings, kind of sitting side by side right there with Fred Jackson. And going through the game plan for the backs this week and just kind of, all of that stuff. Fred Jackson, he coached Mike Hart. He's been coaching for 50 years, I think, something in that range. He's 72 years old, certainly has plenty of experience, but when he hasn't been the week in, week out guy at that spot, it might take a little time to get him up to speed. And apparently Mike Hart has been doing exactly that. So I think there's a bit of an impact. And Sharon Moore talked about how, he's like, look, we ended up winning the game by 21, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but he's like, I really think that, 18 to 22-year-old kids, and then even us as coaches, we were shook up by what happened with Mike Hart in the first quarter of that Indiana game. And then at halftime, he called and he talked. I think maybe it was on speaker, it was out loud, or maybe it was just to Jim Harbaugh. And then he relayed the message to everybody, and it kind of settled everybody back down. Now, I'm not saying, Mike Hart, falls out, gets carted off, they play terrible. Then they find out he's okay at halftime and they win by 21. It's not quite so linear, but I think there's something to the fact that happened. And now I wonder what it's going to look like after a week. Everybody's cool. Everybody knows he's good, but he's not there. And Fred Jackson is having to step in. I don't think it's a zero impact, but I also don't think it's going to make that big of a difference.
I actually, I think the impact is going to be more in the positive than the negative in terms of just the way the team rallies. I mean, this is a close-knit group of guys, and you could not have said that prior to the 2021 season. Somebody mentioned it earlier in the year that the offense looks the same, but the culture has changed dramatically. And I think that is the difference. You see how much, Michigan's not doing much different offensively than what they've done under Jim Harbaugh the entire time he's been there. But what has changed is the culture and how much these guys care about each other and how close they are. And I know, as somebody who has experienced that and watched, somebody that you care about have a seizure, it is an experience that gets seared into your mind and you don't forget about that. And I think when groups of people go through that together and experience it together, you come out on the other side even stronger for it. And so I would expect that the motivation in particular for the running backs on Saturday is going to be high to go out and make a statement and make, Mike Hart proud from afar, wherever he's watching that game.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle as well. I mean, from the purely X's and O's standpoint and the rotation and how that could be affected a little bit, but in terms of the mental, the emotion, I could see what Chris is saying really coming to fruition, and we'll see. I mean, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, both, they're not just meathead running backs. Those are two pretty deep, kind of emotional guys. You've seen, some Blake Corum's backstory, how close he is with his family. Donovan Edwards, I've known personally since he was in high school. Both of those dudes, man, they care about people. Yeah, but I think there's some truth to what Chris is saying. It'll be interesting to see how that looks. I really like this question, and I was kind of I wasn't trying to ignore what you were saying. I caught most of it, but I was racking my brain over this question as it popped up here. Chris, on this roster, Michigan's roster, who do you see as a future first-round NFL draft pick?
That's
a good question because there wasn't anybody that jumped out to me as an obvious answer. Literally not one. I think there's a ton of NFL guys, but first round, you're talking the top 32 players in the whole country.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Does Olu get a look in the first round? We saw kind of a Cesar Ruiz sort of deal. I don't know that there is a surefire first rounder on this team yet. Like Mozzie Smith, like I don't think uber talented. Obviously we know what he can do from a physical standpoint. I don't think he's a first round pick. You can, Zach Zinner, maybe, but
it's just rare, for that position.
Yeah,
Ryan Hayes. 4 of the 5 offensive linemen are playing on Sunday. I think verdict's still out on Trente Jones a little bit. I'd bet he probably will too. But the other 4 are playing in the league. Tons
of NFL talent. I just don't know how much of it is first round talent. And to be honest, I don't know how much of that matters. I mean, I get that that's the point of the question, but at the end of the day, they have NFL talent all over this roster on both sides of the ball. Just not necessarily sure at this point there's any first rounders.
There was other. Oh man, somebody's asking about the Chris being accosted in the lobby of the hotel. We don't know. Okay, actually, you know what? I will say this. Darren May, what happened to the girl that crowded the camera and said, "This is the best night of my life"? I mean, hammered. Chantel did see it. Her and Chris had a little conversation about it. It was fine. Everything was good.
Yeah, she didn't mind. She understood. Look, when you're doing a live stream, it's not like you gotta be careful with how you respond to these things. It's not like I could just look over at her and say what I truly wanted to say in that moment, which was what I said after when I cut the live feed.
More to the guy, but yeah.
Well, more towards the guy, but just so that everybody understands. I had fun with it and I kind of let them do their thing, and I understand that alcohol was playing a part in it, but I promise you that when that live feed cut, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't we weren't exchanging handshakes and all of that stuff. And that's part of the deal, man. When you're out there in the lobby and you got, random drunk people walking around, you're out there with the not the lot lizards, just the lizards.
But what happened was, it turns out her and her husband were on the same floor as us because Chris and I got dressed, went down to the hotel bar, grabbed a couple beers, was watching football, whatever, just kind of hanging out down there. And she comes stumbling off the elevator with being guided by her husband to whoever.
Who I just really went in on about 10 minutes earlier down in the lobby. So it was quite the experience.
That's what ended up happening with that young lady right there. I mean, it was, she was clearly hammered. The other guy was being obnoxious and yelling stuff and swearing stuff. And that was what kind of,
what? I'm glad Fletch Lives Daily asked this question, because as somebody who's down on the sideline taking pictures, I saw the video that came out. Was it Devontae Adams? Is that who it was?
Yeah, shoved the guy.
Shoved the photographer. Let me tell you something. I understand I am not anywhere near the physical stature of an athlete like that. But if I'm down there with my camera and I'm moving around and I get that kind of treatment, I'm coming back. I'm probably swinging the camera at you at that point. I mean, that was the most ridiculous thing I had ever seen. And I get that paths cross and there's some confusion there. But if your first instinct is to just shove a dude who happens to be in your way, I don't know in any other way or part of life where that's the case, where you can just somebody walks across and you just shove them. So yeah, I thought that was egregious. It pissed me off as a photographer. And I think photographers need to unite and make sure that we get treated well down there.
Okay. Next level question though, Chris, would you press charges for misdemeanor assault?
No, because I would have been assaulting back. I wouldn't have been able to.
Oh man. Dude, I'm telling you, we don't try to do it, but every episode we come up with something that someone's like, that should be a shirt. Not lot lizards, just lizards.
Just lizards. just regular lizards over there.
Actually, that's all it should say. Just lizards, dude. That's it. Kind of rip off the Nike, just do it. Just lizards. Let it fly.
Yeah, man.
Anyway.
So we got to think. We got to get this Friday show figured out, because we could be getting into some shenanigans a little bit. And usually we go live Friday at 7, and we don't want to leave the people hanging. But we've got some decisions to make. Well, only because we might be a part of something pretty cool, and we're just kind of up in the air right now. We'll put it this way: if it comes through, it would be an opportunity that we simply can't pass up on, and an opportunity that, quite frankly, we missed out on the way to Iowa City.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. My buddy Dave, who went to college with a lot of us, again, a bunch of my college buddies, we always try to get together a couple times a year. So my buddy Dave is flying up from Florida. He lands around 2:30 or something like that. And then our mutual friend, Chris and I's mutual friend, Zach, who's the big Penn State fan, lives in Colorado and doesn't get into town until like 11:30 at night. So he's flying in late. Obviously, that's a pretty normal early flight out west, but it's going to be late when he gets here. So between 2 and 11:30, it's not just a normal Friday where Chris and I are sitting around doing some work, getting ready. Like we got dudes coming to visit. We got to get the RV over to the lot, the new spot at about 5. That's part of the plan. Some of the stuff Chris is talking about, big time opportunity, maybe breaking off on Friday night. Other guys, I mean, dude, we'll see.
I'll say this. At some point, it's probably not going to look like it looks here, where we're kind of, call the studio, but where we're in pocket. We might be out somewhere, but on Friday, I don't care what the situation is. We will be coming to you live. It might only be 5 minutes. It could look real sloppy. I don't know what situation we're going to be in, who we're going to be with. I'm telling you, there's some situations here that could arise where if we go live, look out with the crew that we're going to be with. So we will go live. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I promise you on Friday, something live will come through.
Oh, we didn't do TFG, dude.
Stop the music. Stop the music. Back the music down. We're not done quite yet. Do we have the TFG music ready to roll?
It's going. Can you not hear it?
Yeah, now I got it.
All right.
You want to go first, or is this what do you want to do here with this?
Well, you know what? If I could,
this fucking guy.
I know you've got a lot to say, and I hadn't really thought about this that much yet. So you go, set the tone. I'll think about what I want to say, and I'll jump on in.
So I thought a little bit about this and wasn't sure which direction I wanted to go until I had the phone call that I had today, which was now, if you guys go back to, what day was that where we posted that video? We picked Rosie up in Kewanee, Illinois, I think it was. Which
that was Monday night.
5.5 hour drive from where we're at. So that was Monday night. We picked Rosie up. We get her on the road. If you watch the show, you know what happened. We're on the road for about 3.5 hours. It dies. We have to, restrain it again for another night. We've got to get it towed, go to another mechanic. So I called the first mechanic today. I was curious. I wanted to know, what did you do to the RV? They said they basically started it up. They drove it around. They couldn't figure out anything that was wrong with it. But one of the things that was interesting is when we were stranded the first time, one of their technicians came out and said, "Oh, I'm getting a reading here on my computer that there's a crankshaft sensor issue." So, okay, to me, that's like a very specific part, that you tow it to the mechanic, you pay all the money to do that, and they get it fixed. Well, they towed it to the mechanic, but they didn't do a damn thing to the RV, even though their diagnostics were telling them that there was an issue with the crankshaft sensor. So on the way back from Kewanee, Illinois, RV dies out. Guess what the problem turns out being? Crankshaft sensor, which cost us another 2 days and about another $1,000 plus in expenses. And so I want to give a real big shout out to Hodges Towing and Repairs in Kewanee, Illinois, for not doing a damn thing to our RV, leaving us stranded again, costing us an extra $1,000. And when I got him on the phone today, you know what this guy told me? Here's what this guy told me. He said, even if I had replaced the crankshaft sensor, you'd still be calling me and bitching if something else went wrong with the RV. At that point, I pretty much lost it on the dude. We exchanged words, and I'm not going to go into that. But we dropped this thing off. We left it at Hodges Towing and Repair in Kewanee for almost a week and a half, and they didn't do a damn thing to the RV. So if you are in Kewanee, if you're in the Illinois area, and you see Hodges Towing and Repairs trying to help you with your vehicle, get your stuff away from there as fast as you possibly can, because I can't imagine why you would see something on your computer telling you that there's an issue with this part and be like, well, we're not going to fix it. I mean, it totally screwed us over. And then the conversation I had with him after the fact just further confirmed that is a place you shouldn't be doing business with. So shout out to Hodges Towing and Repair, possibly the worst mechanic in the state of Illinois. God, I hope so. One of the worst businesses out there. Can't say that strongly enough.
Dude, I mean, it comes down to the fact that, and Chris and I, not gearheads, we've talked about this. It's not like we're out wrenching on motors and fixing cars. Like, that's not what we do. it took us all of a couple hours to do some reading about a crankshaft sensor to learn that they will work for a pretty good extended period of time, even if they're faulty. And then when they get heated up and they get a little jostled, they stop working, the engine shuts off, and it won't start for a long period of time again. That's exactly what we dealt with. So while it's sitting out at Hodges for 4, 5, 5.5, 6 days before they did anything to it, they went out, then they started it, and what do you know? It started up and it ran fine. Well, that's when they decided we're good here. We'll just charge them some money for sitting on our thumbs. And dude, I've never heard of a mechanic place doing anything like this, where it's very clearly on their diagnostic machine saying that there's a problem, and they just opt not to do it. They're just like, we're good. Give it back to them. We're solid. And then lo and behold, 3 hours into the next trip, it happens again. And Josh, the homie, who was in here last night, does in about an hour what these dickbags couldn't do in a week and a half. It's unacceptable, man.
Very specifically.
That's unacceptable, dude. So, yeah, fuck them. If you're ever in the area, Hodges, you can suck a dick, man, because that was terrible, dude. That was awful.
Yeah, awful.
I'm mad, dude. Like, they cost us a lot of stuff, dude. Money, time, safety. Dude, Chris is behind the wheel of this thing in a one-lane highway where, dude, if the power goes out at the wrong time, it could be a wrap for your boy. That's not cool, dude. That's not cool, man.
Yeah, so, it put us in a tough spot, and I've never heard of something where you drop something off to a mechanic, they know there's an issue, and they just decide not to fix it and send you on your way, and then have the audacity to say, well, even if I had replaced that part and something else went wrong, you'd call and complain. Nothing else would have went wrong. That was the issue, and your computer was telling you that was the issue. So for that reason, for the thousands of dollars it costs, for the days it costs out of our week, we missed several events. We had interviews that we were going to do. We missed a lot because these guys just didn't do their job. So once again, if you're in Illinois, Hodges Towing and Repairs in Kewanee, Illinois, quite possibly the worst mechanic, maybe not in the state of Illinois, but maybe in the country. I've never had an experience like that in what I had on the phone. So yeah, those guys, awful.
We're not even going to say the word, but also got into name calling with Chris.
Calling. Well, I put it this way. I was called the R word for like the first time. And since I was in middle school, I was, that's kind of people you're dealing with out there. So stay far away from Hodges Towing and Repairs in Kewanee, Illinois, the worst towing and mechanic service in the state of Illinois for sure, but quite possibly the country.
All right, there we go.
Thank you guys for leaving them some reviews. I appreciate it. Let them know about it.
The bill. So here's the deal. The bill that they actually gave us wasn't like huge, but then because of what they didn't fix, we had to pay a bunch again. We had to pay another tow, another mechanic that actually went in and did their job. So anyway,
the first one.
Yeah, Fletch he's just throwing it out there. Whatever. Yeah, that was the problem. What they overcharged us was not like an egregious amount, but what it then led to was
egregious.
Substantial. And
Hodges Towing and Repairs in Kewanee, Illinois, for all of you who are able and concerned with what happened there. And that's a big reason why we almost weren't posted up this weekend, which would have, again, cost us significant opportunities. So just can't say how disappointed I am about the fact that they didn't do anything. And literally our safety was at risk.
I got a little violent right there. I apologize. I'm a lover, not a fighter, but that got me a little fired up today. All right. So there's that. There's our TFG. I already said what I need. I'm not going to even give us another one. That whole segment is dedicated to the clown show that is Hodges.
Dedicated to Hodges Towing and Repairs in Kewanee, Illinois, as the worst mechanic in the state of Illinois for sure. But again, quite possibly the country. Never had an experience like that.
So there you go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. What an incredible fan-led Wednesdays. Again, apologies if I didn't get to your question. You have to understand the volume and the amount of stuff we're going through over here. Big shout out to anybody who donated. That's incredible. Just could not be happier about everything, with the show. And especially, dude, Wednesday is really turning into a highlight of the week. So we appreciate that. We will be back on Friday in some form or fashion. I don't know, Chris, can we even promise that it's at 7 at this point? It might not.
You can't promise that it's going to be at 7. But what I can promise you is that Hodges Towing and Repairs in Kewanee, Illinois is the worst mechanic in the state of Illinois. Take your car far away from there. Do not let them get their hands on your rig.
All right, there you have it. We'll be back on Friday at some point. And then again, Saturday morning, Keachin, Maine. Find your boys.
Maine, baby.
We'll be there with bells on, dude.
Come say hello. Come drink a beer with your boy. Come get some merch.